The Feast of Corpus Christi, or the most holy body and blood of Christ, is often a time where we reflect on the importance of the sacrament of the Eucharist. And that is very appropriate, as it is the way in which we experience our union with the universal church across time, space, and culture, where we experience the fullness of Christ in both his humanity and his divinity. It is a powerful and sacred gift to us. It is divine mystery. It is transformative and yet accessible in the moment. But in this time and place, in our church, in our country, in our world, I am drawn to the gospel, the very familiar gospel of the feeding of the multitude with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. We are told that over 5,000 groups and families had come and spent a whole day listening to Jesus preach. And as the day drew long, the disciples became very concerned with the practicalities of these folks' need for food, and for those who had come a long way, the ability to find shelter. So they went to Jesus and asked him to disperse the crowd so that they could take care of their own needs. And Jesus spoke to the disciples, and in doing so, to all of us who are part of the Christian movement across time and generations, and said to them a very simple direction: give them something to eat yourselves. That simple instruction is so consistent with Jesus' ministry of care and presence, of feeding and healing people, of bringing those on the margins into his heart. That command is a model for how we are to live as Christians. The body of Christ has very real needs, and we are called to meet them. As a child, I remember this gospel being preached as a miracle story, right? Jesus did his magic, and all of a sudden, these meager offerings that the disciples had were turned into such an abundance that there were a dozen baskets of leftovers. That was pretty exciting. But later on in life, I heard a much richer story and interpretation of this gospel. In that version, the folks who had come to hear the rabbi preach became a community. Those who had brought food to share with their family, their friends, became generous and extended what they had, offered it to others who were there in the crowd. And in the same way, there was an abundance. I love that model of what it means to be a Christian community. The body of Christ not only has significant needs, but we also have the resources to meet them. But to do so means to take on a very countercultural attitude, right? We have to move beyond a sense of individuality or tribalism. We have to shift our minds from an attitude of scarcity to one of plenty. We have to move from fear to trust. When we interpret the events of the gospel in this way, we shift to a sense of community and really how we live out the sense that we are all called into being by a loving creator, and how we are all stewards of the resources of this beautiful earth that we have. In this context of fragmentation in our church, our nation, and our world, I do feel immense gratitude for the Eucharistic feast, which reminds me every time I partake of it of our connectedness, of our union. But it also today makes me think about the fact that the body of Christ is broken in very, very real ways. We are divided. We are broken and fragmented and disconnected from one another. The blood of Christ is being spilled across the earth in war and violence as a result of abuse. And all of these realities can be very overwhelming. But we are also the enfleshment of Christ present in the world today. We are the lifeblood of compassion for all of the people in need across our world. If we can live in the spirit of this parable, where we are called to feed one another from the resources that we have, from what may seem very meager loaves and fishes, we are modeling what it means to be the body of Christ, both those in need and those with gifts. We are moving beyond individualism, tribalism, nationality, or any other identity, and living the model of stewardship in service to all.